I like to say the thanks to OAS item, especially Mrs. Rebecca Vera, for their support for this presentation. We are extremely happy to hear that this professional development engagement benefits not only for the Jamaica, but for the teachers in the Caribbean, Latin America, and North America. Welcome again. At this time, I am inviting Mrs. Kerry-Ann Reid Buckner, the moderator for this session. Mrs. Buckner.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, and welcome, welcome Peru. Use your reactions icon and let me see where you're from. Peru, welcome Mexico, Ecuador, Jamaica, Belize. Wonderful. It is so awesome to have all of you with us this afternoon. Our members of the I-10 team, that's Rebecca, Ministry of Education personnel, Dr. Joseph Thomas, and other members of the Jamaica Teaching Council, visiting ministry personnel from the Caribbean, colleagues all, good afternoon. I am Kerry-Ann Reid Buckner, and I am a recipient and a participant of the extraordinary professional development sessions hosted by OAS and I-10 and the Ministry of Education. It is indeed an honor to be asked to moderate this afternoon's webinar on tailoring STEM for authentic learning. Colleagues, just recently I was in a session with another I-10 member, Alison Owens, and she asked the question, is professional development geared to teachers or for teachers? Very pertinent question. I want you to reflect on your last few PD sessions. How would you respond to that question? Have the PD sessions been geared for teachers or to teachers? It is our hope that at the end of this webinar, you will feel as though the presentations were done for you as practicing teachers, and you would have been inspired with simple yet practical ways in which you can tailor STEM activities for your students. In the next hour or so, you will hear from our I-10 teacher leader and master teacher, Marsha Allen-Russell, who will explore the essence of authentic learning, outlining some of its characteristics and demonstrating how this phenomenon can positively influence the teaching learning process. We will also hear from Bhagya Malladi, who is another I-10 teacher fellow and master teacher, and she will give you some relevant ideas and examples. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you will find these presentations minds-on and practical. And so without any further delay, I now call on and ask you to use your reactions icons and help me welcome our first presenter, Mrs. Marsha Allen-Russell.
Thank you so much, Kerry-Ann. It is indeed a privilege to be given this opportunity, and I think that it is above all an esteemed privilege to be amongst professional educators of this caliber. And what we want to delve in today is looking on tailoring STEM lessons for authentic learning. Just give me a minute on my screen. All right, now, as was said before, we're going to be looking on tailoring learning, having a glimpse at what authentic learning is. I am an educator for over 23 years and currently the head of the science department at Porus High School. And for those of us who know very little about Jamaica, I will just let you know that we have three counties then, or three different divisions in Jamaica. And I am in the central region. And the parish that I'm a part of is known as Manchester, and I'm an I-10 teacher leader and project member. Now, let us begin our journey by looking on what is authentic learning, characteristics of authentic learning, and benefits of authentic learning. Now, we hear this term a lot, authentic, authenticity. And I want to say that we Jamaicans love to talk about the real. We love to talk about good, honest to goodness. We love to talk about this thing is attested. And honestly, when you talk about authentic learning, words like genuine, real, original comes to mind. Now, when we think of learning, learning is a holistic approach, students as well as teachers. And one of the first things before I even talk about what is on the slide is that you cannot have an authentic environment, you cannot have an authentic classroom if you, the teacher, aren't authentic. So what that means is, even though we're all presenting, we have Mrs. Malladi, you have Dr. Thomas, you have Mrs. Carrie-Ann Reed-Butner, all of us have our different flavor. All of us have our different style, and that is what makes learning authentic. When you put or you immerse you into the lesson, then your students can't help but feel it, embrace it, and know what you're talking about. Now, on the slide, it says learning is an instructional approach that allows students to explore, discuss, and meaningfully construct concepts and relationships in context to real-world problems. Stick up in there. I grew up in an environment where children are seen and not heard. I don't know if there are those of us who are in that age group, but when I was growing up, that was how you were taught. If you saw older persons come to talk to your parents, all if the pot is boiling over, don't you dare interrupt them until you hold up your hand and then you're acknowledged and you say something. Now, in that environment, while it has its good components, there is also the tendency to be timid, to not be yourself because you don't want to get, as we Jamaicans call it, a bulla, a slap down. So tend to keep quiet and hold to your corner. But with authentic learning, it's an instructional approach, meaning that the students are first and foremost center. The students are allowed to explore, discuss, and to meaningfully construct concepts. That means when I pass an authentic class, worse, a STEM authentic class, look here, the thing turn up. I am supposed to be seeing noise, people moving, not disruptively, but involved in such a synergy of activities that you can't help but say, oh, what a go on over there, so nice. Now, authentic instruction will take on a much different form than traditional methods. Traditional methods, teachers stand on the board, give you the instruction, students nicely in their rows, hold up their hand if they have a question. If not, they just have to listen to what Marsha said. And in that case, Marsha are the teacher. You can't at any point give any discussion or exploration or say, I don't understand, what about so and so? You're not giving that feedback in a lot of traditional classrooms, but we want to move away from that, where students are now able to explore. Now, I took a walk down to my school last week and I asked a student, what does she think authentic learning is? So let's hear from the student. About authentic learning, what comes to mind? Right? When a teacher is in your class and they're practicing authentic learning, what do you expect the teacher to do? Teach more authentic, so teach more with fun. Students learn more. So do you expect that the teacher would put real problems that are happening in the lesson? No. What do you expect? So there is a problem in your community, water shortage, and the teacher is teaching pollution. Can the teacher use that in the lesson to make it fun? All right, thank you. Now, that was just a snippet of one student's view on it. And one of the things I wanted to look on in the dialogue, there is a tendency to feel that because you are in the classroom and you are the instructor, then the vernacular is not required. I am learning, and more specifically STEM authentic learning, we have to reach the students where they are. And sometimes the best way to grasp your students is to be real. Speak to them on their level. It doesn't mean that you are going to get vulgar. It doesn't mean that you are going to use expletives. No, we won't do that. But at the same time, your goal or your thrust is to ensure that the message is carried across, that the sender gives to the receiver, and there is authenticity. In authentic learning, it's a constructivist approach. The student learning is an active process. Teacher provides opportunity for students to construct their own understanding. And you know why I like that? I'm going to give an example here to squeeze in the point. You see, when I just started teaching a couple decades ago, you felt that because you are the teacher in front of the students, you are supposed to be the font of wisdom. You're supposed to know everything. If the student asks you up, down, in, out, any direction, you are supposed to know it. And what authenticity is, and the new approaches that we have in your education system, and STEM learning, and all these things we're learning about, the flipped classroom, inverted classroom, all of these things, is that I am not the font of wisdom. It's a collaborative effort between the teacher and the student. At the end of the day, I can learn too, who say I am teaching a lesson and I can't learn. But authenticity brings about what we call the real McCoy. You get to the juice of the matter. You bring it down to their level. When you look on authentic learning, you look on self-directed inquiry. So if you pose a problem, the student should be able to ask a plethora of questions around this problem and then come to their own conclusion. You also can take it from the direction of problem solving. Pose a problem to the students. In one community in my area, in where I teach, you tend to find that the internet connectivity is so bad where that community is called Harmons, where it's in the shop, in the square. A lot of the students have to go with their phone and device and set a particular way to pick up signal. Now that's a problem. What can you do? What can we do to stem that situation? That's an idea of problem solving. Critical thinking. Critical thinking means that they just don't hear and accept. They can twist, ask the why, ask the how, get into the meat of the matter. Then most importantly, reflection on real world concepts. Look on things that are facing us and that are happening right now, and look on how these can be used. Now here I am delving into a next approach that we have heard about a lot, and this ties in with authenticity. There are different types of learners. We have our auditory, spatial, different types of learners. And right now we're going to pause and listen to something. I want you to listen to this song keenly, and then I'm going to ask, or we're going to continue the process.
Ms. Allen-Russell, please make sure that you've shared with the audio so that it comes through, because I think it may not currently be shared.
Now I want to stop there. I hope everybody heard it. But one of the things that she emphasized in the song is that authenticity is to be original. Authenticity is to be simple. Now, when you are approaching your lessons, it's not how it is supposed to be. It's not how somebody else says it should be. It should be your style, your natural flavor. So if this style or this way is an easier approach to you, I think that in an authentic lesson, and especially an authentic STEM lesson, take it from where you find comfortable. It doesn't mean that you are not going to bridge the envelope, but start where you're comfortable. And when you make the lesson authentic, when you make the lesson simple, when you make the lesson your lesson, guess what? Then the lesson becomes unique. Now, STEM education is an interdisciplinary approach. And one of the things that I think that merges authentic learning and STEM learning is that in being authentic, in any subject area, English language, mathematics, Spanish, social studies, history, food and nutrition, physical education, it requires that you are going to now merge the disciplines. So STEM education merges the disciplines. It looks on real world problems, relevant learning experiences for the teacher. And in like manner, in making STEM lessons authentic, we should ensure that our lessons are original, our lessons are simple, and our lessons are real. Now, there are characteristics to authentic learning, and there's a whole heap, but I just choose to select 5 of them. It should involve real world tasks that are of interest to the learner. So sometimes even before you do anything in the lesson, you can ask, sometimes you can get feedback from the students. And that's one of the things I want to talk about later. To make your lesson authentic, there needs to be feedback from the persons you're presenting to. The students are actively engaged. So if you look on the picture that we have on the screen, they're involved in what's going on. Chances are if it's lunchtime and they really love what is happening, they don't even notice that it's lunchtime because they're learning and they're involved. Again, as I said before, it's interdisciplinary. So sometimes teachers have the tendency to feel that STEM only applies to the science teacher. It only applies to the math teacher. It only applies to the IT teacher. No. It applies to every subject area. And further on, I'm going to show you how integrating STEM, making your lessons authentic, can stem the bridge or bridge the gap in all subject areas. 4, it involves higher order thinking, the skills of analyzing, synthesizing, designing, manipulating, and evaluating information. And remember, if you think on authenticity, then it gives you a wider gambit to look on things. You don't see yourself as the all end and be all end of every lesson. You realize that teacher and student are working together in a synergistic or harmonious way to ensure that at the end of the day, a product is produced, which is number 5. Students produce a product. No, it doesn't have to be a circuit board. It doesn't have to be something like that, but we can look on when we say product, what we mean. It doesn't have to be a physical, tangible thing. It can be a discussion piece. It can be a part. At the end of authentic learning, there must and should be a product. Now, let us delve a little bit into English language. I wanted to look on areas that persons don't really call STEM areas. When you become a lifelong learner, you are an authentic learner because everything that is presenting to you is a medium of harnessing more information. Now, an English language teacher who is teaching grade 7, and she or he is teaching types of sentences. Now, let's look on how we can integrate that. Now, you can simply get a newspaper article from the Sunday Gleaner, Observer. For the persons who are from other countries, you know your national papers. You get ag paper, or you can use a news report, whether from CVM or TVJ. That's what we have in Jamaica, but you have others in your country. Use that, all that, to teach types of lessons. You don't have to use the textbook. You can make it as authentic as that, as using that. Now let's move on. Now here I have a Gleaner article from yesterday. Let's celebrate all children. See those happy little kids there? Now it's divided into different sections. Doing okay in the pandemic, owning your own business, and these children were talking their experience through the whole pandemic, and the fact that on Friday, I believe, was Child's Day or Children's Day. Now, the teacher can use the different sections of this newspaper clipping and bring out the types of sentences. From this newspaper clipping, we can look on stats. The teacher can bring in statistics to say, I wonder how many students have been displaced since the pandemic. Then you can simply do a simple line graph. Give examples from the article, give examples of students from, say, Hanover. Again, these are communities in Jamaica for persons who are not from Jamaica. Hanover, persons who are in our corporate area like Kingston. And then from the same English lesson, they can learn about a line graph, and they draw a line graph and come up with a paragraph to show, what do you think is of greater impact or that is impacting our children in this pandemic era? Is the fact that their community has little to no internet? Is it the fact that their parents are being displaced because they have lost their jobs because of the change in the environment? From one English lesson, you can do the technology, you can do the engineering, you can do the science of it, you can look on, all right. For instance, we're looking on types of sentences, and we're looking on different communities. In St. Elizabeth, for instance, where there's a farming community in Buckup, there's one area called Buckup there. You can look on the fact that even though persons are displaced because of their job situation, because it's a farming community, it's easier for them to get nutritious food, kalaloo, pak choy, different things that they can get from their neighbors, as opposed to somebody that's in a corporate area where mommy and daddy are not working. And because they're not working, guess what? They can't go to Carnation Market and buy as they would. So they have to buy things like cheese sticks and bag juice that, while they are high in carbs, they're not in the macronutrients. That's one way that one English teacher can branch out our lesson to make it authentic. Now here we have a next scenario where the teacher, if you look, let me go back, sorry, where the teacher now, if you can see at the top of the screen, you can identify 3 sentences in the newspaper article, discuss the need to examine this topic with the students, and then your product now, they can create a poster from the article. All of these are aspects of authentic learning. The product would be the poster. The discussion would come into the higher order thinking components, where students will look on other factors that would influence how the children are affected from this pandemic. Next, we go to physical education. Now, I am teaching underarm serve. From the underarm serve lesson, the same laws that govern physics of an underarm shot involves acceleration due to gravity. So the same physics teacher now can bring in Newton's law of motion. So even though it's physics, even though you're teaching them, even though it's PE, even though you're teaching an underhanded serve, you can now come up with the different components in the STEM lesson to make it authentic and to make it meaningful to the students. And next example that we have at the top is underarm serve in physical education and its connection to physics, English language, and food and nutrition. How does nutrition play a part? Let us move and see. Students can video themselves serving the volleyball, and this can be an assessment, because with authentic learning, you also have authentic assessment. An authentic assessment means that whatever you are testing for the student is what was taught. You're not going to be teaching them about underarm serve, yet you're going to be testing them about football. It must be what was taught in the lesson. So you can ask the students for an assessment to simply video themselves serving the volleyball at home. 2, the students will be asked to write a descriptive paragraph experiencing their practice of how to serve. And 3rd, student can create a meal plan of an athlete, connecting the nutrients that are found in basic foods that we eat and how it influences performance. Would an athlete, for instance, be eating a Shirley biscuit and a bag juice before their competition? What is high in the nutrient content in the Shirley biscuit and the bag juice? Where are your macronutrients? Where are your proteins? Where are your fats? All of those things you can bring out from your physics lesson, incorporating food and nutrition, making it authentic, and at the same time, bringing in the STEM, as I love to say, the STEMification of the lesson. Now, benefits of authentic learning. Students are more motivated. I don't know about you, but you see, anytime I am energized, anytime I feel like I'm a part of something, you're getting the balls going. And for students, it's no different. When they are motivated and they feel like, for want of a better word, we Jamaicans, we love to say, the lesson turn up. When the lesson turn up, you don't have to worry your head to say, Paul, pay attention. Come on, listen to what I'm saying. You don't need to do that. In fact, what you will have to do sometimes is say, all right, one at a time. Come on now, students. 2, students are better prepared to succeed in careers in college and in adulthood, because guess what? They can relate to what is being taught. When they leave your classroom, what is being presented is what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Now, the 3rd one I thought was interesting. Students develop patience for longer arguments. Now let us just stop on this one a bit. Sometimes we as adults can be so impatient. We are in an argument or in a discussion and we're so determined to get our point across that, listen, somebody else is talking and we're not listening to what they're saying because we're busy structuring in our head or come back to say to make our point or to sell the point. But when you have this constant back and forth dialogue with your students, you enable them to develop patience, to listen to a long argument and still understand what the person is saying, and at the same time be able to bring across their information. 4th, students develop flexibility to work across disciplinary and cultural barriers. Now, me love that. You know why I love it? In our present life and situation, flexibility is a must because we are all from different experiences, different challenges. And when you're able to look on cultural barriers, like for instance, we have persons here from Mexico, persons from Peru, persons from Jamaica, different cultures, where sometimes maybe even probably what I'm saying to you, you don't quite get it because the culture is different. Now, when you're flexible to be willing to patiently understand what the person is saying and cross the information, then guess what? It makes learning authentic. When you're able to be teaching, for instance, a physics lesson, or you're teaching a food and nutrition lesson, and you as the teacher STEMify that lesson and put the science in there, put the tech in there, put the engineering in there, and put the maths in there. Tell them, so all right, we are going to make a macaroni casserole, and each pasta costs $5.95, and we need 30. How much money we need? That's simple maths, but it's real to the student. The student is now able to say, they don't see maths as for the maths teacher. They now see that maths transcends boundaries. Maths transcends disciplines, because guess what? It's authentic learning, so it's integrated. And the next point, students practice problem solving and collaboration. Now, I love that. When you're able to solve your problem and collaborate, work well with people, then it's a must that when you are in, that child now grows and is a part of a team in an organization, he would have developed those skills, those same 4 C's that we're talking about, or critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. He would have developed those skills from he was a little tot. So he's able now to easily just transcend to the next stage, as opposed to somebody not being used to that and now have to pinch and push and twist and turn to learn, no, that is not what I think, is what we think. Now, even though you notice I say thank you, I want to go back to this point and emphasize something before I conclude. When we talk about authenticity, it's important that we remember that you cannot be authentic without getting feedback. You can't be authentic to your students if you don't know what they want or what they're thinking. So questions like, what is helping you learn better in class? What is possibly getting in the way of your learning? Or thirdly, what are your suggestions for our next class or our next lesson? Take the feedback from the students. And when you do take the feedback from the students, you are now tailoring your lesson to meet their needs, therefore making your lesson authentic. I will end by saying you will never change your teaching life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routines. So tomorrow when we go back to class, think of something that you can do to make your lesson more authentic. And in your daily step-by-step process, you would have transitioned from traditional to authentic. Now, I love my acronym, so I'm not going to leave you without giving you our acronym. Authentic. A stands for attention focused and being attentive. U stands for unambiguous. You're clearly defined. T stands for your lesson is timely. H stands for you're honest and humane. E stands for you're energetic and bubbly. N stands for you're novel, you're natural, you are yourself. T stands for trustworthiness. I, inclined to try new things. And C, you're calm like the sea, but you're smart as can be. Thank you for listening to me. Have a wonderful evening. And remember, your authenticity is different from my authenticity, but we can all be authentic together. Have a wonderful evening.
Wow, colleagues. Powerful presentation from a powerful lady. Beautiful. Thank you, Mrs. Russell, for that. And what are some of the things we got from her presentation? Authentic learning, it's an instructional approach. It involves students' interest. It allows students to be actively engaged in the lesson. It's interdisciplinary. It fosters higher order thinking skills. Teachers, again, as Mrs. Russell says, we cannot be the sage on the stage. Learning is for children, and children should be the ones to direct their learning. And authentic learning is one such approach that caters for that. That was indeed an excellent presentation. And because we have to keep track of time, I am not going to waste any more of that precious time that we have. So I am going to now invite our next presenter, and I want you to use your reactions icon again and invite Mrs. Bhagya Malladi, who will come and put the icing on the cake and give us some practical examples of how we can incorporate STEM and authentic learning. Mrs. Malladi, it's over to you. You're muted.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, hearing you now.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues, educators, teachers, friends, everyone out there on this platform. Yes, we are back again. I think it's exactly a week now, and we are here to actually talk to you about tailoring STEM lessons for authentic learning. Thank you, Marsha. That information was very useful, and I can continue. So let me now share my screen. but I will just switch off my video because two devices are on and I will be coming back again. Okay. Okay, colleagues. So these are my personal practical experiences with my students, and you will see that how I look at authentic learning and from where I am coming to this point at present. Now it was before the COVID. We all know that we all were writing STEM lesson plans, and we were very much involved with STEM activities with the curriculum in Jamaica here. So what happened is, if you look at this picture, you will see that this is in my physical classroom. And here you can see collaborative learning is taking place because it's a group and the whole class is learning at the same time because they are working in their own groups, and I'm walking around, you know, guiding them, answering their questions. But when I show you the next picture now, the COVID hit us bad and we had to now start what we were doing in the classroom. Now we have to start it doing it from the home. We didn't stop. I did not stop with activities. In fact, I started thinking, how can I now incorporate learning, even if my students are at home, they are behind the cameras, okay? I can't see them, but I have to ensure that they are learning. So I started now, if you look at this, I started with problem-based learning, project-based learning. That is STEM. We are still doing it today. But what happened? When they were at home, they are using their own material. I am setting the objectives and they are completing a task and submitting it online. But I said, let me do something. They're coming to my online classes. They are learning concepts. They're going back. They're doing activities. They're submitting it back. I said, let me give it a slight twist. So what did I do? I gave it a slight twist by giving it an investigative approach, which means I said to myself, these students who are so skillful using their 4 C's, 21st century skills, and here the STEM lesson plans are the 5E model lesson plans. Why not give them some support, nurture them a little more, you know, like a seedling. You grow, you germinate seeds and you put them inside the house, they will never germinate. They need the required, whatever conditions they need. Then it germinates and it grows. So I said, let me help them to use the concepts that they are learning in the classroom, break the walls between the classroom and the world, go out into the real world, connect what they are learning, drive to bring connections between the concepts that they are learning and the real world outside. And so I said, authentic learning is making learning real and relevant. So I gave it a slight twist where I said, okay, so let me give it a twist and let me see what happens. And believe me, I was seeing different results because I was seeing that those projects that they were doing, all of them were submitting more or less the same kind of projects, you know, and when they come to class, they're sharing the same type of projects. But now when I gave it an inquiry-based approach, inquiry-based lesson, then I saw a different approach. They were approaching it differently from their own understanding of the concepts. And I saw that they were, you know, taking in the concepts, understanding the concepts, going out to the real world, connecting with people outside to bring back the real world into the classroom. And so what I did was, I did not give them any guided questions. Here I was giving them guided questions for them to do the activity. But here I gave them an inquiry-based question where now, which is slightly complex. So what they need to do is, they need to now break it down, divide it into subtasks, whether they are working individually or whether they are working in their own groups. And then now they try and solve the problem using their own resources. Because of the distance learning, I observed that everyone's resources are not alike. What I have today, someone may not have. What they have, I may not have. So I left it open-ended. And that brought a lot of difference in their learning approach. So authentic task, I call them. Authentic task will create authentic learning. And remember, colleagues, authentic assessments have to be integrated into authentic learning. Now, this is also an authentic assessment. You can assess this, you can assess this, you can assess this. But let me know in the chat, which one do you prefer of all these three pictures? Do you prefer the first one, where they are being guided, the objectives are given to them, they just use the material and they just give you the project? The second one, you are helping them, they are doing the activity, they are submitting it. The third one, you are allowing them to take their own decisions. You are allowing them to support themselves in the learning. So it is self-directed learning. Which one would you prefer if you were a teacher for the growth of your students? Carrie Ann, you see any responses in the chat?
Yes, I'm seeing one person said guided or self-guided is what she prefers.
Okay, that's great. So we have to remember that authentic learning, which is real and relevant, authentic learning, it provides an immediate answer to a question often posed by your students. Why do I need to know this? The only thing at present you can tell them is it will help you to use it in your career. Why am I saying that? Remember, nurse, after a nursing profession requires the nurses to go and do a practicum. Teachers, student teachers come to our schools to do practicum. What are they doing? By doing a practical, by coming to us and doing a practicum, they are learning how to put their knowledge, how to teach their lessons, and we mentor them. So it's the same thing. Why not start it in the school itself? So let me ask you something now. You're going to observe these slides very carefully. And in these slides, you will see how the students have responded to authentic learning. Okay. Now I call it Route to STEM, aiming for the stars. And my acronym is Real World, Optimal Learning, Ongoing Opportunities, Technology Driven. Okay.
Afternoon, Jamaica. I am your host, Doreen Dumpstler, and you are watching Midday News. Today's top story: a woman has lost her pot cover and is asking anyone who has seen it to call her at Oh, it seems we have some breaking news. I see. Apparently, there is a new outbreak in parasitic diseases of the circulatory system. Parasitic diseases of the circulatory system? I want name so. Does anybody know what that is? Nobody? Okay, we need some help. Can somebody please tell us what parasitic diseases of the circulatory system are? Then we'll be doing an
Good morning. I am Sharon Ferguson, bringing you the Health Report. The Health Report is brought to you by...
You know what you say? We got the razzle that's run.
These are just small clips I'm showing you of the students.
This is my science project. Basically what it shows is the transversion of chemical energy in the battery to electrical, heat, and light energy in the light bulb. So basically when you put the battery right on the aluminum foil, it transfers energy and it makes this Christmas light light up. Here we go. And there you have it.
As the hot air begins to rise, it flows through the fan blades. The hot air pushes against the folded sections of the fan blades, which are folded at an angle, causing it to rotate. The hotter the heat source, the faster the air will rise and the faster the fan blades will rotate. As you can see, heat is being emitted off the pot, going into the sections of the fan blades which are folded at specific angles, catching the hot air, causing it to rotate.
So authentic tasks, they create a bridge between what is learned in the classroom to the world outside of the classroom. Basically, the students are breaking the walls between the classroom and the world. And if you realize now, you and I as teachers, they are breaking the walls by themselves, not even allowing us to do it for them, because they have so many resources now. They have the technology and they have all the resources needed in their house now. They are at home. So they are trying to their best to create relevant learning. So do you think these are authentic tasks that you saw just now? Because they are closely associated with the real world relevance. Now we have to remember, students must be producers of knowledge. They must not be consumers or reproducers of knowledge. And so it depends a lot on us how we design the authentic task into in a way that they can now divide them into subtasks and then complete it over a longer period of time than within minutes or hours. Any task completed within hours and minutes is not an authentic task. It takes time for them to understand, to draw the connections, to use different approaches, so you have to give them that time. So bridging the gap. So what is authentic task? It bridges the gap. And this picture should let you know what's happening. What do you think? What do you wonder is happening in this picture? Let me show you the picture again. Look at this picture. Let me know in the chat, what do you think is happening? What do you understand from this picture? Carry on, you can see any responses?
Not seeing any as yet. I know others had responded to the first question.
Okay.
Jean P. Brown had said she had preferred the first, gravity. Okay, so the first one came in to say gravity.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see he has a red ball in his hand. When he's throwing it down, it comes back to him as is bringing the world.
Someone said Big Bang Theory. Someone else said change.
Okay, yes.
Gravity on Earth.
So basically,
transferring of knowledge.
Yes, transferring of knowledge from within the classroom, which is the red ball, to connect it to the outside world. So these students have to do that for authentic learning. Okay, great. So I'm now going to ask you to try and look at some improved student outcomes that can be achieved through authentic learning. So let us first look at student outcomes. Now I want you to carefully look at this text box. And can you see 3 keywords in this text box, which can help our students to really bring a relevance to their learning, to bring a meaning to their learning? Can anyone tell me 3 keywords that you see in this text box?
Okay, I'm waiting. Collaboration.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
Solve problems, decision.
Yes, solve problems and
decision making, yes.
Yes, so colleagues, when I was doing the problem-based learning, I was depriving them of that. I was depriving them of taking decisions to solve their own problems. What I was trying to do is make decisions for them and say, hey, this is the objectives, this is how you have to do it, and this is how you do it and present it. Whoever does it the best, no, but now it's not like that. give them an authentic task which is complex. Let them simplify it. Let them break it down into subunits. Okay, let them come together if it's needed. Take certain decisions and solve the problem collaboratively. And so you will see that in the same picture, you can see this animation. How did they come up to make the car? The stem comes in here, but it is collaboration at the end of the day. So what happens is authentic task will give us authentic products. Now, we know the 4 C's, one of the 4 C's is communicators. So we are already developing communication skills in them. But how can we give it a slight twist to know one of the elements of authentic learning? So please listen to this story told by my grade 7s when I gave them a question. Tell me the story of the fertilized egg. I just told them, tell me the story of the fertilized egg and see what they do. It's a collaborative effort.
It all started when the egg is released from the ovary to the fallopian tube in a month, not in a hurry. If lucky to meet a sperm, it will fertilize, and a zygote they will comprise.
The zygote then travels to the uterus, develops into an embryo, and while being nourished by the placenta, it will grow. It all started when the egg was released to a fully grown fetus, and when it is ready to come out, the cervix opens and the walls of the uterus contracts. Eventually, a child is born. That's a fact. And into the world after all of the processes and the combined effort from the egg and a sperm.
So you see what the fact was? They said a child was born. So they brought the relevance to the world. Their story now took a twist.
It all started when the egg is released from the...
So they learned the concepts in the classroom, but they built a story. I just told them, make a story. What happened to the fertilized egg? Okay. And here this student now, this is about the composition of the air. I'm going to show you 3 different students looking at the composition of the air in 3 different ways. You should be able to know what the difference is.
The following is a pie chart showing the composition of air. It demonstrates the different gases that can be found in the Earth's atmosphere. Nitrogen, 78% or 280.8 degrees. Oxygen, 21% or 75.6 degrees. And other gases such as ozone, hydrogen, neon, helium, water vapor, and CO2, which are 1% or 3.6 degrees. Key: numbers with a degree symbol are the degrees, and the numbers with a percentage symbol show the percentages. The following is a...
You will realize that now these communicators, they have skillfully developed one element of authentic learning, and that is...
The following is a pie chart.
That is articulation. So they have been able to develop that element of authentic learning, which is articulation. That means writing and speaking about their understanding, the learning environment, putting it into words. And here there's an articulation as they demonstrate concepts through physical representation. Okay. And you are providing them that opportunity. Remember, as teachers, we are guides, we are facilitators. We have to provide that opportunity for them to convert their understanding of concepts into words. Okay, and they can do it even for online presentations in classes. So students, they use different elements to understand the concepts and demonstrate through the element of articulation. So do your students present a completed product with thought and argument? That is where authentic learning comes in. Now let us see the next one. Critical thinkers. Now critical thinkers are very important 21st century skill, because it puts together a plan. It is putting together a plan for an authentic task that you have assigned. They can do this individually as they divide the task into subtasks, and then they come together as a group with a final completed authentic product. So now let us see this student who's speaking about the same composition of the air, but see what the difference is.
This pie chart shows the different gases that the air is made up of and accurate percentages of each gas. The most abundant gas in the air is nitrogen, which is the green portion of the pie chart. It is 78% of the air we breathe. Nitrogen is a naturally occurring element that is essential for growth and reproduction in both plants and animals. One reason why nitrogen is the most abundant gas is due to the fact that it is not involved to a great extent in chemical reactions that occurs in the atmosphere. The pink portion of the pie chart is oxygen. Oxygen is a colorless gas needed by every living organism, which is 21% of the air. Oxygen has many interactions with the earth and is involved in many processes such as production of steel, diving, medical treatments, and one which we can all relate to, breathing. The yellow portion of the pie chart represents argon, which is nearly 1% of the air. Argon doesn't have many uses and is only needed when an inert atmosphere is needed. The blue portion.
So now by now you should know what the difference between the first student and this student. Both are equally right in their own ways, but you must realize that they have their own points of view, and that is what authentic learning does. It helps them to develop their own understanding. Okay, now this is another very good video I wanted to show y'all. Here you can see the student.
So I'll be building a circuit to demonstrate conductivity using batteries, an LED, and a resistor. So when I'm done building the circuit, you'll realize that the LED light won't turn on. And that's simply because the circuit is incomplete. What I will be using to complete the circuit is just a basic paper clip, only I accidentally broke mine. Now, metal is a really good conductor, so when I connect the two terminals using the broken paper clip, you'll see that the LED light turns on. Now, apart from your everyday metal, there are so many different conductors, such as water. And to show that, I'm going to be using these two jumper wires, black and red, and just a simple cup of water. So I'll put the two wires into the water, and I will make sure they're not touching, and look at the LED light, it's on. So when I take them out, off, when I put them in, on. Now, apart from water, you could also make an electrolyte solution, and that does sound like a big word, but it is actually quite simple to make. All you need is salt, which is an electrolyte, and water. So you just dump the salt into the water, give it a quick mix like that, and then you take wires, do the same process, make sure they're not touching, and you just stick them in like that, not touching, and you'll see the LED light is shining so much brighter than it was before. So once again, not touching. I hope you guys can see, not touching, but the LED light is so much brighter than with just water. Now, electrolyte solution is pretty cool and all, but another metal is aluminum foil. Now, aluminum is a metal, so I'm just going to take the aluminum foil and wrap up the two bits after I've dried them off. This, and I'm going to show you that even though they aren't directly touching each other, the LED light will turn on, and that's because, well, aluminum foil, aluminum is a metal, and so the electrons flow through the aluminum foil and complete the circuit. And now I'll also be showing you guys.
So basically, what you're seeing here is critical thinking leads to looking at multiple perspectives, which again is an element of authentic learning. So we saw articulation, which is an element. Now we are seeing multiple perspectives. Students are looking at it in different ways. So what is the key? What is this? What is the key to this? The tip is projects must include open-ended inquiry, development of thinking skills, and metacognition. Very important. So that is why authentic learning, you're still doing the projects, you know, but you're giving it a slight investigative approach. Okay? Looking at multiple perspectives, that is an element. Now let's go to the next. We know that we are creating lifelong learners. Now, this lifelong learners, this task that you are going to see, okay, this particular task, you will notice this is also composition of air. That is what I want you to now tell me. You saw, or you will see all the three of them, and now see if you can make out the difference.
Good day, Miss Malladi. Today I will be talking about my pie chart, which represents the composition of air. I used different materials for each element of air. I used rice for nitrogen, which is 78% of air, scrap newspaper to represent oxygen, which is 21% of air, embroidery thread to represent carbon dioxide, which is 0.04% of air, and I used sand to represent the other gases. These other gases include argon, neon, ozone, hydrogen.
So here you can see something else. So can you please give some responses in the chat? What's the difference between these three students? All of them did composition of the air, but there is some difference.
All right, I'm waiting to see what's going to come up in the chat.
You see any differences? Have they noticed any differences?
I'm not seeing any responses just yet. Okay, they had unique ways of presenting.
Yes.
One other person said using technology to create a representation.
Yes, and you will also notice that they have to appropriately use digital tools and resources, and that is fantastic.
Yes, so someone also said available resources.
Yes.
Using different materials.
Yes, so you see, these students are able to explore from different points of view. They are able to express ideas that are meaningful, and the task that you have given them, that is teaching them real life lessons. Now this student has said it in a different way.
Composition of air. Here is a hand-drawn representation of the composition of air in the form of a pie chart. The air is a mixture of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and the remaining 1% is composed of carbon dioxide, other gases, as well as water vapor. These other gases include argon, methane, helium, neon, sulfur dioxide, as well as ozone. Uses. Nitrogen is the most common gas in the air and is needed for plant growth to make proteins.
That is where,
green plants need carbon dioxide.
That is where now she's bringing a relationship, integrating other subjects. You see, she brought the biology in, she brought the chemistry in. And so you have to understand that you're giving them that opportunity. You are keeping it so open-ended that they can come up with their own understanding. And none of them here, every one of them is doing right, and they are expressing their own views. It can be authentic evaluations. This particular post, as you can see, this is related to real life, you know, because they do see posters of wanted. And so they created the nucleus. They created posters on the nucleus, wanted. So what is the element that is coming out here? Reflection. So that's the third element that you're coming across. Okay. Let me go to the next. Problem solvers. This is the highest level, okay, in Bloom's taxonomy, where they are creating using all the lower levels. And these problems and issues that students find interesting, they attract the students and lead to engaged learning. So here you will see all the elements coming in: multiple perspectives, reflection, expert performances, coaching, and scaffolding. Now, this is where we play a very important role. Even the members of the team can do this. When they ask you a question, we do not give them the direct answer. We give them another question to answer that question. Okay? And so we are trying to help them to understand, to come up with their own views. So these are the elements of learning. Look at this. This is what I am saying is creation. Look at the student. They were given digestive system models. You will see 3 students doing it in 3 different ways.
The mouth is made of a funnel. The esophagus is made of a hose. The stomach is made out of a balloon. The liver is made out of a sponge. The pancreas is made out of a leaf. The small intestine is made out of a wire. The large intestine is made out of something of the funnel connected together.
Okay, this is one. Let me show you the next one.
The mouth.
Now this is different. Okay, the next one. Now look at this. They have used online tool which is called Tinkercad. So I kept it so open-ended. I said, use resources, do it your way. I want to see. So I got different type of models from them. And it's all dependent on the student again, how the student finds interest in doing it. This particular student must be interested in the online tools, must be very tech savvy. The person who did it with the resources is more kinesthetic. So again, like Mrs. Russell said, we have to remember that our tasks have to be designed dependent on our learners. So you have to keep authentic learning open-ended inquiry, investigative approach. When you give them instructions, the instructions should be such it is clear. I just said, I gave them a template of a food plate and I just told the grade 8s, help your friend to stay healthy and focused in school. That's it, I said. I didn't say anything else. Okay, but look at the responses I got. Some of them who can draw very well, they drew to make a nutritious food plate. Some of them, here you can see a different, okay, and they have given reasons why the lunch is nutritious in their own way, according to what they have understood. So we have to encourage them to think, to understand, to explore, to discuss. Okay, and so they're bringing a real life, they are bringing relevance to their study. They're breaking the walls of the classroom. They're going out, they're meeting chefs, they are talking to dietitians, they're talking to medical professionals to get help to complete their projects. Now, this particular student, she made this.
Okay, so we have 5 containers in the front and 5 in the back. In the back, we have the cabbage, the liquid from the cabbage. Container 1, we have milk, water, dishwashing liquid, alcohol, and vinegar. Now we will be testing to see the color, the pH level depending on the color. So I'm going to start by throwing in the milk. That's the water. Then the dishwashing liquid. So thick. The alcohol. And the vinegar. This is the color for the dishwashing liquid. It turned into a lighter purple. This is for the one with the water. It remained the same color as before. This is for the milk. It got really light. For the one with the vinegar thrown into it, it turned red. And this one was for the alcohol. It turned the same, basically the same color as the dishwashing liquid, a lighterish purple.
So you will see that these students, they are mimicking the professionals, like a chemist, a dietitian. So right from now, if we give them that opportunity, moving forward, when they enter these companies, when they're working in the work, when they go out into the workplace, they know how to do teamwork because we are already training them, we're already helping them here in the high schools. This student used turmeric as a pH indicator. Okay, it was quite interesting. She used turmeric as a pH indicator to find out the pH of her solutions. This is a grade 7 student who actually, right from the time I've seen her engineering skills in her. She takes anything and she just makes something and she comes to the class. So when you're teaching them some concepts, they just go home, take some material, and all my projects mostly, I love them to use cost-effective resources because I believe STEM does not need expensive materials. Now look at this. This is last week, just last week.
Yes, miss. And it's a series circuit. And miss, if you were here, you'd be getting some breeze from it.
Wow.
Yes, miss.
Turn on the fan again. Let me see the fan.
Yes, miss.
Very nice. So you put what? What did you put? You see that students, they can explore. They are learning on their own, but you are there as a guide, as a facilitator. You're not there to give them the answers. You're there to help them. You're not giving them any guided questions also, but you're helping them to find. You're going to tell them where to look, but not what to look for.
Yes, miss. And it's a
So this collaboration is very important in all these settings because collaboration is the key, Here the students are learning through social interaction, which is one of the principles, one of the theories of learning too. And it encourages them. It encourages them to technology. Like I can do collaboration in my online classes. I use Spiral AC, I use Wikis, WebQuest, Padlet, Zoom breakout rooms, and I give them tasks to groups rather than to individuals. And for primary school students now, you could use storyboards, you can make PowerPoint with voiceover, you could convert the PowerPoints into videos and help the little children to play them on the videos. So you see these children, they are very skillful. We just need to know how to engage them, okay? This is another robotic arm that they did last year. And now this is my class last week, online class. Online or offline, students can learn curriculum content as it is used in the real world. Now I'm giving you 2 minutes. I think only 30 people can join on this Jamboard. The others, yes, you'll help your classmates to get quickly to the answers. Now let's go. I want to know how much you know about the flower before we actually learn about the flower. So one of your classmates said the topic is plant reproduction, and she's right. So let's see. Go ahead and put only one label. Each of you get only one label. Now draw a label line. All the white dots. Who is changing the color of the background, please? All the white dots. Draw a label line from there. And each of you will only get one label to do, please. Thank you, whoever is drawing the label lines. Now here I'm a guide, I'm a facilitator. Come on, let's go, let's go. So I'm helping them. Collaboration. And do you know what the outcome of? If you put a sticky note, make it very small so that the other labels are not blocked. Make the sticky note small. Yes. Make it smaller. Yes, that size will do. Good. So what is the result? And if anyone collaborative work, the result was 100%. And they were so excited. Even though they made mistakes, I made sure that they were correcting each other in a respectful manner. So even though it's online, we are still guiding them. Okay? We are guiding them for teamwork. So what are we coming to the end to learn about? That it is applicable to the real world. Authentic learning is applicable to the real world. Okay? It is entirely student driven. Because remember, the students they are bringing in their thoughts. They are implementing it and they are presenting the finished product. It is self-directed learning. Okay? It is collaborated, work-based learning. Collaboration is very important in authentic learning. Student to student, student to teacher, teacher to teacher. We as teachers also have to collaborate with each other to bring in ideas to help our students to learn. And it is a break from pen and paper, which is so very important because now it's all practical applications. So here you will see some ideas for authentic learning. Enjoy. It's about 3 minutes, but you will get more In conclusion, 4 themes can be recognized. Real world problems that engages learners, inquiry-based activities that practice thinking skills and metacognition. Yeah. Discourse among a community of learners. It can be student, 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 teacher, teacher, teacher. Oh gosh. Student empowerment to the choices they make, as there are multiple ways of engagement, multiple means of representation and expression, which again takes us back to universal design learning. Thank you, colleagues. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I really enjoyed it, and it's my pleasure to be here this evening to share my experiences with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mrs. Malladi. I am reminded of the quote, "What I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I know." That you have demonstrated. I don't know about anybody else, but I want to be in your class, Mrs. Malladi. I want to be in your class. I remember distinctly when I was at Sam Sharp Teachers College, I would never miss an advanced biology class because my lecturer, Mrs. Samuels, was like, you are doing such an excellent job. I am so impressed. Colleagues, you must admit that these 2 presentations were done for you as educators and not to you. And I want to give you some time to ask questions. We only have a few minutes left. And so I just want to say congratulations, Mrs. Malladi and Mrs. Allen. You have done an excellent job. And now I will hand over to Rebecca, who will take your questions if you do have any. Thank you so much for joining us again, colleagues.
Thank you so much to all of the presenters, of course, Ms. Carrie-Ann Reed, and then also to Dr. Thomas. So at this time, a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Additionally, for those of you, I know we are getting close to time, please do make sure that you do the final evaluation. I'm putting that right now in the chat, and that's also a space for us to get your attendance records as well. So what questions do we have for our speakers? I've seen lots and lots of comments, but what questions do you have? What would you like to hear more about, or what additional resources are you looking for?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Shilian, go ahead.
I got the link late because I was in another presentation, so I just got the summary. So I'm wondering how would I get the presentation so I can be enthused just as you are.
The presentation from tonight, if you should get an email tomorrow, probably midday, and we'll make sure that we have the recording on YouTube for you.
Okay, so the same email that I put into the link for registration, you'll just send it to me. Okay, thanks much.
That is correct. Yep. Does anybody have any? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Rebecca, there was one question from Mrs. Malladi in the chat earlier. Someone had asked, was a pie chart a requirement for the composition of the air, or is it that other students used other means of presenting the data?
Actually, what happened is they have to represent data, and in grade 7s, they learn how to represent data in different ways. So when we had a class, they were all talking about the pie chart because I had put up a picture of a pie, and then I had put up a picture of a graph. So I wanted them to tell me what it is. So when they said pie chart, they all decided they wanted to do pie chart, but they want to do it differently. So I said, okay, go do it your way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon.
Hello, Dr. Amos.
Yes, I was under the impression, though, very, very good presentations. I was here from early, and I really do enjoy, and I could concur. However, I was under the impression that we would talk more about virtual learning in cyberspace, because a number of the pictures that came up on the screen, those were pictures that speak or address collaboration in the physical space where you saw children working together, actually, I was, looking at more of a virtual space because, this virus, I believe that there is more where that came from. So we now have to look at, the two modalities, in the context of the teaching and learning experience. So I was looking at how we would reach those students, individually, and let the STEM and the STEAM, do the addressing, given also that we have to use both synchronous and asynchronous learning, in the online space.
Can I say something? Can I say something, Rebecca?
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, last week we had a presentation to engage students in the online space. We just did a webinar last week, and that was teaching STEM in quarantine. So today, basically, we are looking at authentic learning. I understand what you're saying, but we already had a webinar on that last week. So I'm just thinking, if you have attended that webinar, you would have seen more of that engagement in the virtual space.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Amos. Latoy, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. I would like to add a comment to what Dr. Amos, is that so? Just mentioned about the online space and Mrs. Malladi. I am thinking that even those practical assignments, the students could have gotten that for homework and make a video of themselves and then play the video in the classroom for others to see, giving a description of what they're doing. So while it may look like the physical space, it can also be transferred to the virtual.
Yes, that is what they did, that is how they're sharing in the online space, and all of us are observing them, learning from them, having discussions. That is how we are sharing.
That's it, Mrs. Malladi. So that's what I'm adding to what the
you.
gentleman asked about earlier.
Yes.
That if he noticed, the students were even playing videos of themselves describing what they were doing. So it is also for the virtual classroom.
Yes.
Thank you, Latoy. I have a question in the chat before I go to the next raise hand. Nicola, you'll be next. This question in the chat comes from Dr. Padu Seshire. Great presentation, Bhagya and Marsha. Both presentations were authentic. There is research that suggests that students with disabilities who were given more authentic tasks performed considerably better than students with disabilities who were given less demanding tasks. Do either of you have any experience on this observation?
Well, I would say that in terms of teaching students with disabilities, no. Most of my students that I've been exposed to are the disability, and it's not a disability, is that they are slow learners. But it is clear that once you practice authentic learning, whether you have a disability or not, just because you are making it real to the student, it is bound to have a lasting impact on whomever is engaged in it. So I would say whether disability or non-disability, or the thrust is to make it as authentic as possible so that whomever the student is will have garnered all they need to get. Thank you.
Any additional response from Bhagya?
Well, I have come across maybe just a few students, but what happened is they will try to do the assignments based on their own skills, styles. So they may be auditory learners, they may be visual learners, they may be kinesthetic. Sometimes they do role play in my classes. So I understand that even through role play, they can actually express what they are trying to understand and put across to the whole class. So yes, Dr. Padu, that is a way that they learn. That is why I'm telling you, it has to be an open-ended inquiry, investigative approach. You're leaving it open to them so that they now can do it, what interests them, and then showcase their skills.
Thank you, Bhagya. I think we really only have time for maybe this final question from Nicola. Go ahead and open up your microphone.
Okay, this is a sort of observation / question. I'm just kind of concerned about the characteristics of the learning environment from which both presenters come, because one of the things I find when you have enthusiastic, energized teachers who really are attuned to the needs of learners. Sorry about the noise. When you have that kind of teacher, how do you buck against a system that's sort of out of sync with maybe authentic assessment, or how do you transmit these kind of ideas to teachers who are not necessarily disposed towards experimentation? Are you in a position like that to influence other teachers? How is your system, system-wide, is it receptive to this kind of engagement of students?
I'm going to jump in with that one to say that I think it was Carrie Ann who stated that learning by doing is critical in a system that we have now, because the truth is, for primary school, the emphasis is PEP preparation. For high school, the emphasis is CSEC and K preparation. But in the midst of all of that, while you are giving them the assessment, so yes, your tests have to be past paper because you want to prepare them for the exam. You must, as our appraisal instrument talks about, your assessment plan. Each teacher must devise an assessment plan. Now, I can use my experience with my assessment plan. All assessments, who says all assessments have to be a test? Who says all assessments have to be a quiz? Last week, I was teaching, for instance, central nervous system, and about 3/4 of the class are students that simple words like nerve, so you have to help them to spell. But one of my assessments was they had to get a cardboard. We went through mixing flour and water and using food coloring to make the different colors. And they had to make a sensory neuron and a motor neuron, put it on the cardboard, make the model, send it to me via email or WhatsApp, because some of them don't have that, believe it or not. And that was their grade. Now, assessments are making your learning authentic. You have to be creative. The truth is, our system will hit against you to maintain the status quo. Our system will hit against you to maintain tradition. But remember, we are the masters of our classroom. We know our students. We know what clicks and works with them. There are students that I have that love drawing. They won't be able to explain or write a paragraph, but they can draw the thing like, whoa. Now, based on knowing your types of learners, you are going to devise assessments that are varied, that are different, so that each learner reach where they should reach. Because if you take it to the mindset that it has to be a rigorous test and only a test, then you will forever have persons in the cracks. You will forever have persons who will never score there because that's just not their style. But if you devise your strategy, but remember, it takes work on your part. If you devise your strategies where you have variation, the students actually become excited. A student that might can't write or spell well, because he can make the model and get full 95 or 100% because of his model. He is so excited to do the other work. And you find that even sometimes that student now takes more pride in doing the little paper quiz a lot better. So it's about perspective, I would say. It's about deciding that you are going to be the change agent to make it work as best as possible in your system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any final comments from our panelists on that? Tonight.
Yeah, I just like to say that love the answer, because one of the reasons why I asked, because a lot of the greatness, a lot of the innovations in teaching, it's not spread across to a whole school population because of the obdurate stance of admin. And I like what you said, you have to buck against the goad, so to speak. But, you know, greater thrust has to be needed to kind of open the minds of administration to realize that it's not necessarily an individual teacher effort. But I like the enthusiasm and like the response.
Perfect. Well, we're a little over.
I would just like to I would just like to add one thing. Now, whenever you are talking about authentic assessments, you have to ask yourselves, we have to ask ourselves as teachers, that are these assessments in a real world setting? I know that even today as adults, when we go on trips, when we go any seminar, any conferences, we come back and we make a report, right? We submit a report of what we have seen, what we have learned, or what is the outcome. Similarly, why don't you just incorporate the same pattern of behavior in the students? Okay, take them on virtual trips on Nearpod. Nearpod is a beautiful tool. You take them on virtual trips, ask them to submit their reports. Give them, do some demonstrations, online demonstrations, send a worksheet to them there and then. They're filling it up. As soon as the class is over, they submit it to you. So authentic assessments have to be integrated with authentic tasks. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. I feel good that we're leaving this on a high note, and I think realizing how you all can be change agents, but it also does require a good supportive context, right? And so teachers aren't the only ones who need to be there in order to really see this kind of change, but it can start with teachers for sure. So yes. I'm so happy to hear that. We are, I need to finish up here. I'm going to just very quickly show a final slide and issue an invitation. I've already shared with you a final evaluation. Feel free to fill that out. I've shared that in the chat a few times. I want to let you know that there is going to be an event on June 1st. I believe this is Tuesday of next week. We're going to have a poster session where you can meet some of these lovely people again and more like them from all over the Caribbean and the United States on June 1st. We'll actually have a session in Spanish on June 2nd. The registration, in order to get to that, please complete the evaluation that I've already shared in the chat. And once you do that, it'll give you the link to register for the poster session. It will be about a 1.5 hour program where you'll be able to run around in this digital space and get to meet a number of people from I-10 working on international collaborative projects and lots of great teachers just like you met here tonight. So with that, thank you to all of you for attending, and thanks to all of our panelists and speakers. I hope that you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca.